I used to think that anxiety was just part of being ambitious. That knot in your stomach before asking for a promotion, that voice that says, you're not ready yet. And I've seen it in my clients, and also I've lived it myself. And here's what I've learned. When we don't deal with that anxiety, it doesn't just stay in our heads. It shows up in our decisions, in our bank accounts, in the way we lead, and sometimes in the opportunities we never take. And in this week's episode of From a Woman to a Leader, I sit down with Denise G, a healing and leadership coach who works with leaders and entrepreneurs to heal the emotional patterns that hold them back. And Denise has this incredible way of connecting the dots between our personal stories, traumas, people-pleasing, fears, and our professional challenges. And she shares practical strategies to calm the anxiety, break the cycle of overgiving, and start showing up as the leader you already are. So if you're aiming for your next big role, or you're trying to grow your business without burning out, this conversation will help you stop overthinking, set healthier boundaries, and finally, ask for what you're worth. And for those who don't know me, hi, my name is Limor Bergman Gross. And you reach From a Woman to a Leader podcast, when I talk with women in tech and leadership about the real challenges and real solutions for growing your career and confidence. And I want to invite you to tune in, take what resonates, and step into your power. You'll thank yourself for it. So are you ready? Let's dive right in. Hi, Denise. Welcome. How are you?
Doing good, Limor. So glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here today. It's really wonderful having you here today. Thank you so much for joining.
Glad that I'm so glad we're just having this conversation.
Me too.
About to have it.
Yeah. And before we start into the conversation, I mean, you mentioned to me that you are a leadership healing coach.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I haven't heard that before. So share with us, what does it mean?
Yeah. So at first I thought, what does that mean too? I was having a lot of conversations with my own coach, and he said, Denise, I know that you want to do focusing on life coaching for business owners and executives, but you talk a lot about traumas and addictions and how it intersects with how you show up and lead, not just yourself, others, but yourself, you're included. So I think healing and leadership coaching is a little bit more detailed than just simply saying I'm a life coach for business owners and executives.
Okay, makes sense. And I think we talked about on our last on the pre-call about ambitious women that are really trying to conquer the world, right? They are putting a lot of stress on themselves.
Yeah.
I know I've been there. That they are very anxious. They're very kind of edgy. I don't know how else to call it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something about they're missing a lot of things because they're so anxious. So can you share a little bit about that?
Well, let's try to make sure that we understand what anxiety is, right? Because I think everyone says I'm an anxious person, or
Oh yeah.
But what does that really mean? So when I'm thinking about anxiety, I'm thinking about having an unusual preoccupation of things that could happen, future telling, or consequences of things that may happen based on actions or inactions in the past. And so there's this constant tug between worrying about what could happen or worrying about what did happen and how it impacted you. So that's what I'm thinking about when I say anxiety. I just want to make sure we're all under the same
Thanks
agreement.
for clarifying. Yeah.
Okay. So when I'm talking with women and they're saying, I'm anxious, right? It's usually coming from anxiety from perception. Am I being taken seriously? How will people perceive me if I say these things or I don't say the right things? Or maybe I don't have enough credentials backing up my authority. Or maybe I need to have certain things lined up before I even qualify to even make the ask in their business or in their tech field or whatever they're doing. So there's a lot of trepidation about identity, worth, value, timing, and even having the authority within themselves to feel having the strength to say, I should make this ask. And most often the case, the fears were unwarranted because they were just asking themselves to analyze all these hypotheticals and they never questioned against what reality was.
Do you think it stems from just being afraid of getting a rejection eventually?
Yeah, it's so funny you say that. Yes and no. Yes and no. So there's a lot of discussions, and there has been discussions about the gender pay gap. And I'm not going to sit here and say whether or not it's true or not. That's not the point I'm trying to make. But there is a lot of research that has been literally put out that says women on average are least likely to ask for more, but they're more willing to overwork, and employers take advantage of it. They're like,
Yeah.
well, if you're not going to ask questions, you're just going to just put your head down and just do as you're told and not take the risk of being rejected. We're just going to continue to work you to the ground. And that has consequences, not just as a employee, but then when you try to step on your own as an entrepreneur and you still carry that same mindset.
Yeah. I think it, as women, I mean, I'm generalizing, right? But I've seen that both on myself and the women that I coach. We have the tendency to want to please everyone. We want people to love us, to like us, we want everyone to be happy. And because we are such people pleasers, then it affects us in the workplace. Like, as you said, like we are trying to give more and ask less. And as business owners, oh, I don't feel comfortable. Maybe it's too much to charge. Is ladies, I have those thoughts, right? I mean, when I ask for money, maybe less so from companies, but from like, especially from individuals, maybe a woman come to me and she pays out of pocket. Like I have a constant battle. Like I'm working on it all the time, but it's like, yeah, she needs to pay out of pocket.
Mm, yeah. And when I think about it honestly, it's a mixture of things. It's from like obviously how you were raised. Your girls don't make a fuss. Your girls make sure that they get along. We don't want to make any feel uncomfortable, but we're never asking ourselves this idea that if we're trying to avoid discomfort, we're creating discomfort within ourselves. And that actually creates resentment. It creates procrastination, avoidance, and actually makes things worse for everybody because we're being dishonest to ourselves about our work and our value.
Yeah. So let's talk about some strategies that women can take to, I would say, I don't know if to mute completely, but to lower those inner voices.
Yeah.
Any strategies that you found effective?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've done a lot of work understanding transactional psychology. It was developed by the Dr. Eric Berne in the late 50s, early 60s. And he comes up with a theory that says that for a lot of us, we are scripted, meaning that we have been taking cues from our moms and our dads and our Uncle Jimmy and everyone around us in order to be able to survive in a world where we might feel afraid of those big uncomfortable feelings. And so one of the things that I always tell all my clients is to start naming the discomfort. The reason why we avoid things that are uncomfortable is because we can't wrap our mind around it. When we're starting to feel anxiety, right? List what those things are. I'm afraid that if I ask for more money, those clients will leave me. Well, are those clients really valuable to you, and why? Maybe, just maybe, if you start charging more, you start getting better clients. Asking better questions helps reduce the fear, helps tame the anxiety, never eliminates it. And actually asking yourself also, where do those ideas of we want to people please come from? Has it been helpful for you? Has it been harmful? Why?
Yeah. I think it's eventually about practicing the things that we feel uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Eventually, right? I mean, money is a big issue in general for women, right? You mentioned there's a pay gap. I'm sure there is, right? I mean, no matter what research is, simply because, and I would say this is just like, oh, the big bad companies. I think it's a combination, but we as women, generalizing, we ask for less. We feel less comfortable with this topic of
Mm.
how much we are worth and to ask for money. So I would say you need to practice. You need to practice asking for
Yeah.
what you want, whether it's money, whether it's promotion, whether it's like opportunities.
Yeah.
Eh,
And I would add for those who are listening or viewing us that if that feels even uncomfortable asking, you can actually start having conversations with yourself, uh, and put meaning that you have an empty chair right in front of you and and pretend you're talking to a client or employee or someone, and role play and hear the voices inside of yourself that might say, no, we shouldn't ask that, and question that. It's called Gestalt therapy, where you're actually role playing with yourself and hearing
mm,
yourself, telling yourself why you feel anxious in the first place. Because a lot of us, again, we have unconscious scripted patterns that we never examined, and it causes us to shrink, minimize, avoid, and deflect who we really are.
yeah, I love that suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What about anxiety that is related, like for something that happened? Like we tend to kind of overthink about things that happen, right? Like really invest a lot of energy in that. Oh my God, what have I done? I was whatever it was, like in that meeting or with that discussion of I've really failed, like what have I done? And we tend to kind of having like an endless cycle in our head and what's gonna happen, they're gonna fire me, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not a therapist, by the way. I just want to say this one up.
Yeah, me neither.
But there's a lot of things that could be at play. And for those of you guys who are listening and you're like, it's really disturbing my sleep. I can't function around certain people without fears. I would highly advise you to see a appropriate medical doctor,
Hmm.
a, a mental health care team for about that. But that being said, when I hear stuff like that, there's a lot of things that come to my mind. It could be generalized anxiety disorder, whereas you're this for at least 4 weeks plus more constant fears and worries that's interrupting sleep, interrupting ability to think clearly, be able to hear what other people are saying. Obsessive compulsive disorder, where you have to go into rituals to quell the anxiety. Like, for example, people who say, I have to wash my hands, right? It's
Yeah,
not the ritual
yeah.
of washing their hands. The actual ritual resolves the anxiety of, I'm going to get sick.
Hmm.
So they do
Okay.
constant things on repetitive just to quell the anxiety, but unfortunately, that whole process creates more anxiety.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things, but the point I'm trying to make is I really want people to grasp at what is really happening. If it's coming to the point where it's actually interrupting how you're living your day-to-day life, that's clearly something that you need to talk to a pro with. But on like a general level, like most of us feel anxieties about what should we do and what should we didn't do. Again, pausing and asking ourselves the whys, the whats, the hows, box breath. That's another tactic where you're holding the air, you're pausing and you're exhaling can really calm the vagus nerve. That helps calms our bodies down. That can help do a pattern interrupt to those racing thoughts.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I always say, at least what works for me
Hmm.
is to do something for myself and physical. I think like exercising, doing something outside helps. Just
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, just to get even simpler, like you're absolutely right. Any, like for example, just doing the bare minimum of 120 minutes a week that's recommended by the CDC in the states, Center for Disease Control, which means about 30 minutes of exercise. And I'm not talking about running a marathon. I'm talking
yeah,
about walking outside without your phones,
yeah,
without things buzzing on you. There's another tactic called earthing where you're literally touching the earth, gardening, literally putting your feet on the bare soil. That helps calm the body down. Listening to music, aromatherapy, yoga, massage. There's so many different tactics to get yourself calm. I remember at the beginning of our conversation, you said that you love my background. That's
yeah.
not by accident.
Okay, so tell us
View,
about it.
viewing nature has a calming effect on our nervous system. Touching plants, seeing like objects that come from nature helps us remind ourselves that we're not the only one present in this world. And therefore, if we're something of that's part of a bigger picture, why are we magnifying our fears?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I for those of you who listen to and not see the video, like yes, Denise have a wonderful background with some plants. I'm, by the way, terrible with plants. I cannot keep them alive, but it's really nice and relaxing to see that.
For me, I'm not just speaking anecdotally about anxiety. I've had so many terrible anxiety attacks. I literally was hospitalized once because I literally my felt like my heart was beating out. My heart dropped to like what 30 beats per minute. That's absurdly low.
Yeah.
I just could not focus, and because I couldn't focus, I couldn't think straight, and because I couldn't think straight, I was magnifying things that weren't really a big deal. If I
Mm-hmm.
lost the client, I think I can find another one. If someone doesn't like me, gee, there's 8 billion people roaming around this planet. For a lot of us, we've never challenged the thoughts, and we just let
Yeah.
our bodies just take us to places it's not meant to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that trying to really ask yourself, like, okay, what's the worst that can happen, and challenging that thought, right? I mean, yeah, if you lost a client, okay, maybe maybe that's okay. I mean, because not everyone is a match.
Yeah,
That's not the end of the world.
yeah. And maybe that wasn't a good person anyway. And maybe you losing that person can create more energy for people who will value your time. Let's,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I truly believe that things that happen for a reason, and either they should have happened or there's some learning for us to make. Right? Sometimes we make mistakes, and there are some learnings that we need to take from those experiences.
yeah.
So, what else can you share from your kind of life or your practice that can help our audience?
Yeah, well, if we're just going to focus on anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Usually, when I'm talking with clients, women specifically, there's always up this idea of their role they need to play.
Uh huh.
For example, I was thinking about one particular client, and she always felt like she had to be a helper. And I said, yes, I understand you're a business owner, you're help like she ran a law practice. I said, I know you want to help, but are you really helping people when you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious because you've taken more than you need to? Are you helping truly when you're shielding your team members from bad decisions that they've made? I really want you to start asking yourself what helping means. I think for a lot of us who have dealt with anxiety or people pleasing, we have a distorted view of helping. And it was because it was modeled from either a same sex parental figure like your mother or someone else that literally showed martyrdom. But martyrdom isn't healthy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. If you're sacrificing everything for yourself, there's nothing of yourself to really give. You're not giving your best when you're depleted. So I really want people who are listening to ask themselves, like, am I really sacrificing for a purpose, or I'm just sacrificing to repeat what I saw from everybody else that was influential in my life?
Yeah, and I think that when you're in this mode that you feel like, oh, I'm sacrificing myself for everyone else, you're not at your best, first of all, right? You're kind of exhausting yourself. And also, I mean, that can lead to a lot of frustration, anger along the way, like feeling like, oh, I gave up so much for other people, when actually they haven't asked you to do that.
Yeah, and we're laughing, right? Because it's like we're literally training people to become monsters. It's like Monsters Inc. Like where everyone's expecting us to roll over and like be their personal pedestal so they can like be a bigger monster because we're shielding them from reality. And I said that to one woman. She was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, no, sweetheart, you're trying to prevent him from becoming an adult. And it was like light bulbs were clicking in her mind because you're like, oh my gosh, paying the electricity bill and not letting him just be in the dark in his own apartment, not being able to shield him from like other consequences of reality was actually making her life harder.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think as moms, we have a lot of mom guilt, and we wish to do everything right for our children and take too much on ourselves and stress ourselves too much instead of just take care of ourselves and our well-being.
I mean, there was a point in the place, right, where, because I'm a mother myself, where you need to be able to make sure that they know the facts of life. Don't make sure you look both ways before you cross the street. Make sure you eat your fruits and vegetables and put on your lotion after you take a shower and all that other basic stuff, right? But there comes a point where we need to work our way out of a job as parents and let them parent themselves, our kids parent themselves with their little voices and their minds. And if we just constantly remove their ability to think and like make decisions on their own, actually we failed as parents. And yeah, it sucks to see our kids do stupid things, but we've done stupid things, right? And we learn from them. Maybe, just maybe, we're actually helping our kids learn through reality.
Yeah, I very much agree with you, Denise. And I think that as parents, I mean, our job is also to give our kids the ability to grow and take responsibility and make mistakes.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about this one particular woman who this was not a client, I mean, it was just completely anecdotal, where her son was just the alcoholic and just drank and drive. And there was this one situation where she was lying to the police about what her son was doing that particular night. Oh, he was with me. Like, no, he was drunk, cruising the streets, and he ran into another person's car. Right? Thankfully, nobody was in there. Thankfully, nothing serious was happening other than body damage, right? But she thought that even lying to the cops would somehow prevent them from figuring out, like, that was your son. And then that process of trying to shield and protect, right, was losing the fact of I'm enabling criminal behavior. Now, I'm not saying that we like, I'm talking about these extreme examples for a point, because for a lot of us, we just think that if our shielding, right, is somehow protecting, and it's not.
It's actually doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Because as you said, it's allowing that behavior to persist. Like, oh, unconsciously, like her son will know that, oh, my mom will back me up. So if I do something stupid in the future, she'll solve the problem for me.
Yeah.
Versus if I have to pay for my mistakes, well, the payment way may be really uncomfortable, right? I mean, but if I pay for my mistakes, then I will learn from it and I will take ownership and responsibility.
Yeah. And the reason why we're having this conversation is that caretaking, codependency, these kind of issues don't operate in a vacuum. If you're finding yourself codependent, meaning like you find your worth and your value with based on how you treat and perform other people, it doesn't stop at home. You'll find yourself doing it with your clients or your employers or whoever.
Absolutely. I think that it is all related. I think we cannot disconnect ourselves from how we are at work and life. I just had a client call yesterday, and she has a people pleasing like a tendency, like many
Yeah.
women,
Yeah.
and inability to say no. And I actually, I asked her several times during our session, where does it meet you in your personal life?
Yeah.
And at first she kind of said, doesn't mean I'm not doing that in personal life. And I was like, okay, I didn't push her. And yesterday I asked again,
Yeah.
where does it meet you? And
Yeah.
she said, oh, and keep asking me these questions. So yeah, because typically, those behaviors that we have, typically, I mean, we behave similarly.
Yeah.
And she said, you know what? When because you kept asking, like I started thinking about it. And yeah, actually, she just told me about a story with her friends. Like, doesn't matter the details, but she was doing the same thing. Like, she was basically doing the same behavior with her friends, giving up on what was important to her, like trying to please them. And yeah, she said, you know what? Yeah, you're right. It happens also for me. So I told her, yeah, well, if you try to fix that in your personal life, because sometimes it's easier. Like, for example, if you have a manager that's very difficult for you to work with and it's hard for you to set boundaries, well, maybe it's an opportunity for you to try to, kind of practice it at home, to set boundaries with whatever, with your friends, with your spouse, with your kids, and practice it there.
Mm. That's making the assumption that your family members are emotionally mature because most likely when you've done people pleasing, they have way taken advantage of you for so far too long that the fact that you're developing a backbone or spine is offensive to them. And so I'm so glad that your client could talk to you. Usually you're not talking to people in your immediate circle because they have learned to adapt to your people pleasing behavior. You
Yeah.
need someone that doesn't love you the way your mama loves you to help teach you about like what it means to say yes to yourself. When you're saying no, you can't say no. You're also aren't saying yes to yourself, and that needs to be addressed. What's really going on?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why having someone external is important, right? Because I have many clients that tell me that, like, yeah, they need someone like me that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know all the ins and outs, that doesn't come with any emotional kind of baggage, and like to tell them what I see from what they're telling me, right?
Yeah.
To be flat out and tell them what I see, and sometimes that's what we need.
It's hard though, because
It's
like for a
hard.
lot of us, we've been trained in our culture to like our Instagram worthy TikTok reels that we just show all of our beauty blemish free, and or we tell every dirty nick and every sort of details. And there's a little middle ground where we can be honest with someone who is not invested in the drama of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we end our call today, I mean, do you have any last kind of tip or insights that you want to share for women that are dealing with anxiety?
Yeah, I definitely just want those who are listening to understand that anxiety is not defining you. It doesn't represent your wishes or or your future or even your past. It's something that you use to help you feel safe. But now it's no longer helpful when it comes to becoming the best version of you. And so maybe you have to have a conversation with that little girl inside of you that is fearful and say, what do you really need to feel safe? We talk a lot about their inner child work in psychology today, but it's true. There's a little girl inside of us that just needs to be loved. You don't have to be harsh to her. Just warm her and protect her, and you'll find the anxiety will go away.
Yeah.
Not completely, but it won't harm your goals and ambitions.
Yeah. And I think what you said, not completely, and you said it before also. I mean, I don't think we need to strive for perfection, and it's okay. We live with fears, anxiety, with a lot of things, and that's okay. We need to be with peace with ourselves and not try to be some perfect human being, because it doesn't exist.
No, it sure doesn't. Sure doesn't.
Yeah. So Denise, tell our listeners a little bit about you, your practice, and how they can find you.
Yeah, so I am, again, a healing leadership coach, which is a fancy way of saying I'm a life coach for business owners and executives. And what I do is help, obviously, identify underlying psychological issues, burnout, anxiety, stress, trauma that prevent you from showing up the best version of you. I don't necessarily deal with your business stuff, but I do talk about how your mindset impacts your business. And I write extensively about these type of issues on my website, deniseglee.com. And most of the articles for me, but it also features other doctors, wellness professionals. And there you can learn about working with me if that's something of interest to you.
Wonderful. And I'll make sure to share your blog, your beautiful blog, and everything. Thank you so much, Denise, for having this so important conversation today.
Thank you for your time, Limor. I'm so glad we had this conversation.
Thank you so much for listening to the episode with Denise. And before we wrap up today's episode, I wanted to give you a sneak peek of next week's episode. And next week, I'm sitting with Carol Hauser, and she's a recruiter, career consultant, and she helped hundreds of professionals land better jobs. And I know how challenging it is nowadays to land a job. And that's why I think this episode will help you. And we talk about why women still hesitate to apply to roles unless they check almost every box, how to overcome the fear of rejection, and how to network and negotiate with confidence. The episode is full with practical tips you don't want to miss. And if you haven't already subscribed, make sure to subscribe to From a Woman to a Leader so you never miss an episode, and share it with anyone you feel that podcast can be helpful for. I want to thank you all for listening today, and I'll see you next week. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.